All right, lads and lasses, welcome along. Tuppence Tuesday yet again. Now, wanting to go through one of the topics that I guess is really important, isn't it? We follow the stuff, we're doing Power BI stuff on Geordie Intelligence, got Geordie Consulting going to support businesses. Now, if you're following Geordie Intelligence, I'm hoping, maybe it's because you want to improve what you do. You might be, looking to get a promotion or change what you do and move into Power BI as a Power BI developer. Now, that's part of the question. One of the things that happens is at some point you have to go through an interview. So I thought, well, let me run through what I do when I'm interviewing people, how I gone about it. No doubt get lots of feedback from HR people going like, but, hopefully there'll be something in there that'll go, maybe he knows what he's doing. It comes down to three areas within Power BI. Yeah, you've got your resource management, which is in terms of actually your people and your time and that kind of thing. So if you're going to be a good Power BI developer, you've got to be able to manage that stuff. What can you do? How much time have you actually got? How much time is it going to take to build that report pack in that way? Yeah, that's a really important thing to be able to understand and gauge, and to be savvy enough to be able to push back and say that. Data is the other thing in terms of actually how much data is there? Is the data actually there to deliver what the customer's asking for? And again, a good developer is quite happy and needs to be prepared to push back and go, what you're asking for, we haven't collected any data that's going to really help deliver that. So we need to review that process, work out how we actually get that data to build that KPI and serve up that metric. Right? It's kind of, those are the kind of things that we end up doing. And then lastly, and this is the one that I think a lot of people struggle with and aren't really necessarily aware of, is kind of, you've got a limitation of the platform as well. Now, in my life, as we've worked with Power BI, there've been days, there've been weeks, there've been periods when I've thought of Microsoft bugging my PC because it would be, I wish Power BI would do this. And then next month's release, we've released this version that does this. And you think, are they? Right? More than once that's happened to me. So you need to be aware that at some point you're going to find that the Power BI platform itself is going to be a limitation to you. Right? And we're going through one at the minute. So there's some stuff that I'm doing right now that it's like, limitation. There's ways around it generally, and there's things you can do, but you need to be aware of what the platform can do, what the platform can't do. And that will then help you structure the data correctly so that you get the most out of it, which then helps you manage your resources because you're not spending as much time. It all becomes like a cyclical thing. So that Venn diagram's really key. And what you really want to be doing is obviously trying to get somebody who's like, bang on, straight in the middle there, understands everything, understands what's going on. And that's kind of the goal, isn't it? We want to be able to get that perfect person. The realities are you're going to probably get someone who's, up one of these areas and not as good on, they've got a weakness in one of those areas. And that's just the reality. There's nothing wrong with that. But you want to be able to understand who you're taking on, what they're doing. Hi? Makes sense so far? Don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe are you starting to think I maybe do? Stranger things have happened. Right? So how do I do it, right? My way of going about it. I reckon kind of 3 interviews is generally the way to go about it, yeah? First off, just have a bit of an informal one, just to chat. How are you? What are you doing? What do you do? The idea being, can I talk to them? Are they articulate? Because that's going to go to them being able to manage a lot of the softer side of it. So being able to manage customer expectations, being able to actually control an engagement. And those are vital skills to have, don't get me wrong, right? You could be the most technical person in the world. You can be the best Power BI developer in the world. But if you can't turn around to a customer and say, I'm sorry, that data that you're asking for, you haven't got it anywhere. So how are you going to produce a meaningful report from it? If you can't do that and have those hard conversations, it's really difficult for you to really excel and deliver real value to your customer as well. So informal interview really helps to weed out a lot of the people who just didn't know what they're talking about, never really done Power BI, kind of maybe seen some examples. That helps, right? That informal chat gets through. You can get rid of loads of people that way, right? The next one, and this is the one that we're going to talk more about, and I'll do a little bit of a demo towards it as well in this video, right, is the technical interview. Now, this one, I like this one, right? What we do is we give them an hour with a CSV file, basically, and a few questions. Tell us this, tell us that. How's it going? What does this mean? And the core thing is actually about saying, how does their mind work? That's the bit, that's the actual goal that we're looking for. And even the best developer will tell you, you might look at a programming challenge and you'd be like, I'll go this way. And then you might get to the end of an hour and be like, I went wrong. I did it. It's not how I did of getting. And that's fine. That's not an issue. It's not a technical interview in terms of you did that wrong. You didn't do that right. What I've learned with Power BI and with them is that there's many ways of skinning a cat, right? So the purpose of this is to try and understand. Do they understand things like Kimball schemas? So the idea of fact tables and dimensions. Do they understand actually little bits of DAX? We're starting to get some DAX code being written, or we're getting some stuff done in M. And that's generally the bit that happens afterwards, is we'll pull apart what they've built. Not in front of them. That'd be horrible. Right? But it's about then them seeing actually what's their analysis. So if we're looking at it from a retail perspective, which is one of the examples we use, might have a number of product lines, and we'll say to them, I've got some budget for next year. Which product line should I actually invest in? And it's always interesting to get. And there's no real right or wrong answer here. Some people might say invest in like your leading product line, because 1 or 2% is going to make a big difference to your bottom line because you're selling a lot of it. Others might go down the route of saying, well, this is an area you've got problems in. I think one of the best answers we had was, well, in this area, in this location, you were struggling with this product. And, that might be where you focus, quite a very targeted view. But it's really kind of understanding what their process is and how their mindset or how their mind works. Because obviously I need a Power BI developer who can not just develop, but understands data principles, data management cycles, how we leverage data effectively. So that's kind of really key. That technical interview is kind of everything. Once you've gone through your informal interview and your technical, you kind of know good, bad, kind of separate the two, right? And then lastly, you kind of want to have that little bit of a final interview, don't you? Just that chat. How's it going? Bring in HR, do the proper, right, let's investigate what's going on. Why did you choose it this way? More of a debrief about what happened. Why did you go? Was there something you'd like to do differently, or you would do differently now you've had a chance to think about that technical interview? All these things. By the end of those 3, I reckon you can have a real, this is the person that we want to hire. So tell you what, right? Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of my face. Let's crack one over into Power BI desktop, and I'll show you a little bit of this data set that we're fiddled with. Yeah, champion. All right. So this is the spreadsheet that we use. Yeah, it's just a simple one. Not too complicated in it. All right. This is a superstore or sales data. All right. What we want to see, let's crack over into Power BI. Yeah, is that they come up and when get into that mindset of breaking it out into a number of dimensions, right? In this case, I've just put this together. It took us about 20 minutes to do. Yeah, broken it down into four dimensions. We've got customers, we're products, and we're calendar table, right? Calendar table. He's written a calendar table. One line of text or code is all you have to remember if you're going to write a calendar table, right? And I would recommend, if you're going to be being interviewed for a Power BI role, make sure you memorize it. Right? Yeah. So because we've been able to pull this in, start to get stuff working, it makes a big difference. Suddenly I'd be able to then start to use the hierarchies that I've put in, because I even had time to put in some hierarchies, right? To really start to understand what's going on and then answer the questions that I was being asked as a potential hire, and hopefully be able to land that job. So far, so good. So I hope you found that useful. You know, this is kind of the process I gone through when we're looking to recruit. It is difficult finding a good developer. I still find good Power BI developers are difficult to find. But don't be downhearted, right? The point that we really want you to do with Power BI and learn is a little bit of data. You know, if you can start to understand what you're looking at, that is the real skill. And that's where we can really benefit the world. You know, the more data literacy people have, the more data literate you are, your colleagues are, the world around you is, right? The less likely any of us are to be taken for a ride with lies, and lies of statistics. So, you know, even if you're struggling, say stick with it. You might not want to become a Power BI developer. That's not a problem. Being able to look at Power BI reporting, if this is built properly, it's this way. So I can ask these questions of it, or if I'm going to ask this, potentially going to come back. And, you know, it goes a long way to be able to understand when a developer comes back to you and says, can we do this, which we can do today for you? And not be too, well, I think you're rubbish. And it's really difficult. So we're talking about recruitment. I hope you can see, you know, it's not as straightforward as just we're going to come on, bring people on board to do Power BI work, right? There is a lot that's needed, and a good Power BI developer does come with an awful lot of skills, right? So stick at it. You know, any questions, get in touch, man. You know, I'm always happy to help people. You know, even if we're not recruiting right now, always happy to help. If there's something you want to do, something you didn't want to do, out like that, let us know. Comments down below. Right? Don't forget, like and subscribe. You know, take care of yourselves. Cheers. Ta-da.